Hi, I'm Elaine Harding. Welcome to my blog at stampwithelaine.com. Today I have an Easter project for you. It's a hexagonal stepper box. That's the top and that's the side. Oops, if I tip it over, it's all the eggs are going to fall out. But that's the stepper box. That's what it looks like when it's open. And then you close it and the box all stacks up one after the other, and then there's a lid, oops, to go on top. I'm using the dies called Beautiful Shapes, which is part of the Hello Beautiful stamp set bundle, which is on page 50 of the January to June mini. I'm going to be using the large hexagon and this next to large hexagon, and also the medium circle to cut out the label, and that to cut out the greeting. I used the Easter greeting from Easter Friends, which is on page 27. This little butterfly comes from the set of dies which goes with the Butterfly Brilliance bundle. So they're called Brilliant Wings. It's quite an extensive die set. The little butterfly from here. To decorate the top of the box, you need the daisy punch and the medium daisy punch, fresh freesia 3/8 inch open weave ribbon, the gilded gems, and Highland Heather ink. Pansy Petals designer series paper. These have got some gingham on the reverse, and this is the sheet I used. Actually, I'm coming to the end of the paper. I haven't got very much left. Start with the wrap for the outside of the box, and this measures 9¼ inches by 5½ inches, and in metric that will be 21.5 centimeters by 12.5 centimeters. So bring in the scoreboard and you start scoring at 1½ inches, 2¾ inches, 4 inches, 5¼ inches, 6½ inches, and at 7¾ inches. In metric, the box is actually quite a bit smaller, so you have the long side at the top and you score at 3.5, 6.5, 9.5, 12.5, 15.5 and 18.5 centimeters. Burnish the score lines really well. Then on one of the ends you want to just trim a tad off, because by the time you put your trays in, it will sort of expand it a little bit, and this might just be too wide. It's hard to close because that will interfere with this bit here, so you just want to cut a little bit off so that it wraps round without interfering with the other folds. You need 2 patterns of designer series paper. For the external ones, it's the same pattern, so that's pattern 1, and for the 2 end panels, which is pattern 1 as well. And then pattern 2, you need 5 of those, and that's just simply the reverse of this designer series paper. I've got 2 pieces for the end panel, which measures 1¼ by 5¼ inches. In metric that will be 3 centimeters by 12 centimeters. I'm going to glue this as I go along, so it means that I don't lose my pieces. So one goes on the reverse of this, and the other goes on the inside. Then you need to cut 7 pieces for the external panel. So there's 6 to go on here, and another one inside there, and all these measure 1 inch by 5 1/4 inches. So I'm going to do the outside, and I think some of these match up. If it doesn't matter. So I'm going to speed the camera up while I do this. This one is also pattern 1 for the end panel. And then we have 5 of the reverse side of this paper, which is pattern 2, and these have also been cut at 1 inch by 5 1/4 inches. In metric, that's 2.5 by 12 centimeters. So I'll glue these down as well, and I'll speed it up. Now we're going to set this aside, and we'll need to make up 4 candy trays, and these are the hexagonal trays. So for the tray bottoms you need 4 large hexagons, the largest, and then for the inside, to keep it neat, you have 4 next to the largest hexagons. To create the side of the tray you need 4 pieces cut at 1 3/4 inches by 8 inches. Now you can either cut up the strips, 4 strips, and score each one multiple times, or you can do it the shortcut way, which is cut a piece of cardstock which equals the same amount as the 4 strips of 1 3/4. So that means you have to cut it at 7 by 8 inches. Okay, so with the long side at the top, you score at 1 1/4 inches, 2 1/2 inches, 3 3/4 inches, 5 inches, 5 inches, 6 1/4 inches, and 7 1/2 inches. In metric, shortcut will be 16 centimeters by 19 centimeters. Then on the long side you score at 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 and 18 centimeters. Then bring in your trimmer and cut at every 1 3/4 inches, 1 3/4 inches, and last one, 1 3/4 inches. Back the scoreboard, and you just score 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter in metric on all of these. Now you want to burnish the score lines for the sides of the box. Give it a good crease both ways. And do the same for the remaining 3. Next, you want to take a slight wedge out of that and the 1/2 inch tab, and only cut a sliver at the top, a very narrow one. Then fold this and put your scissors right at the score line and cut a slant, and then as you go along fold the cardstock to cut your tabs. Then fold that last one back and cut this one here, and do the same for the other 3. Then with the fresh freesia cardstock you want to cut just a tad under 1 1/4 inches. squares. So you need 4 of those. Then you need 4 sets of designer series paper, and each of them are 1-inch squares, so you need 5 sets of 4, so that's 20 in total. Now if you like your pattern to be consecutive, you can number your cards and point the arrow in the direction it should be glued. So this is, I've got number 5, which should go this way, 4, 3, 2, 1. Leave it on the side and then apply adhesive. 5. Now these pieces are to go on the joints because you hide the joints. If you do this on the inside of the box, you'll see the join, and if you don't want to show, then it's optional that you can add a piece here to go inside. It's important that you do glue it in this configuration, because this bit is going to be the bit that's glued to your wrapper, and there's no designer series paper on that piece. And now we want to assemble the sides, so you can put adhesive on the inside and fold that over, press it down and hold it till it bonds, and do the same for the other 3. Now to assemble the tray, you need your large hexagon, and that helps to keep the shape. You want the straight edge at the back when you squeeze this in to the hexagon, even if you go in like that and then pop it back. So that will keep the shape. Then you apply the adhesive. Then take your large hexagon where the straight edge is, pop that on top and press it down, flip it over and use something to reinforce the glue on the inside. And then you can take that out. Use your hand to make sure that the box is stuck down, and then trim off these sticky out bits to give it a nice neat finish. This a tad under 1 1/4 inches where the join is, which is here, and you put the adhesive on the back of that and glue it inside. And it doesn't matter about the bottom, but make sure that the top is flush with the top edge, and glue that down properly. Then with the smaller hexagon, that goes on the inside the box, so you cover up those flaps, and you want to put adhesive on the edge of those flaps on the inside, away from the actual joins, because don't forget this is much smaller than the large hexagon. And drop this in. I've burnt my hand there, it looks awful on the oven, so it's not a dirty mark, it's a burn. And there you have your trays finished. So you do the same for the remaining 3 trays. The time comes to assemble it. So you want to put adhesive on the blank piece here and adhere it to the bottom of the first gingham panel, okay, and make sure that it's within the score lines. Want to check the spacing for the other boxes. So this second box will go on the second panel, this third box will go on the third panel, and the fourth box will go on the fourth panel. You want the top one to sit on top of the designer series paper, like so, Okay, then these two will fit in between the other two. So what I'm going to do is, so that I get my spacing right, I'm going to put the top one on. And while the glue is wet, it will move. So you want to make sure that it stays still. And wait for it to bond before you do anything else. Now remember, I said that this panel here might need a bit of trimming, and I've just tested it to see if it will shut properly, and you still need to take a tad off. So I'm going to chop another little bit off to make sure that it shuts properly. That's better. So now I'm ready to glue the other two boxes. I want to make sure that it's within the two score lines. I can check that by doing this. Then wrap it round. And now I want the third box to go on this third panel. And I want to make sure that it's clear of these two boxes. So put that on the third panel. Look at it from the side and make a slight adjustment if I need to. Bend my cardstock back just to check that it is stuck between the two score lines. Right, I'm happy with that, and then that wraps round. And there's your stepper. Now you want to create the lid. This is constructed slightly differently because the lid will be slightly bigger than the box and this hexagon won't fit. This is 8 9/16 by 1 3/4 inches. In metric that will be 20 centimeters by 4 centimeters. And in this scoreboard, now I'm not going to have my paper right up to that corner there because I want it slightly over the 1 inch mark. Alright, then I'm going to score at 1 3/4 inches, so that will be 2 3/4 inches. Then you want to score at every 1 1/4 inches. Let's put the cardstock up like that. So that's now at the 3 inch mark. Then you score at 4 1/4, 5 1/2, and 6 3/4, and 8. And so it's just slightly 1/16 of an inch longer here because it's a lid and you need to allow for the cardstock. And then on the short side, oops, you score at 1/2 inch. Metric, that will be 4, 7, 10, 13, 16 and 19. And on the short side you score at 1. So burnish the score lines again. Do the same as before. You take a wedge out of that and out of the tab. Just slightly cut off a sliver at the top. And then fold that and again cut your tabs. Then for the top of your lid you need a piece that's 3 by 3 or 7.5 by 7.5 centimeters. I'm going to turn the box upside down, and you want a rubber band to help you hold that tight, like so. And I'm going to put adhesive on the tab here. Oops, I think maybe I've got too much there. And where the wider tab is, I'm going to place this on there, okay, the join of the tab, then wrap that round and glue the tab together. So one side, this back end, will be wider. So I'm going to put glue on the top here on the tabs. Careful you don't get any glue on the bottom. And then just pop that on top. Press it down. Make sure that's really bonded. And then you can trim. Cut round it. So that's the back of the box where the join is. So that's the longer piece there. So that goes on the back. You can see one bit is wider, that's the wider bit. So we're going to attach some double-sided tape in the middle of the box. And we want a double length of ribbon. It uses quite a lot of ribbon actually. I'm going to fold that in half to find where the middle is. It's better to have too much ribbon than too little. Take this off. Fold it in half, put it on there at the halfway mark. Add another piece of Terran tape on top of that piece. Remove the tape, fold this ribbon in half, put it halfway there. You have your double-sided ribbon. Put a glue dot in the middle there, tie a knot, press that down so that it helps you anchor the ribbon, loop it, round and over and under, there we go, pull that tight and then adjust it, fan the ribbon out. Next we want to do the greeting. Highland Heather ink, and I'm just only going to ink up the Easter, stamp it on basic white cardstock, cut that out with the beautiful shapes dies, and I'm also going to cut a circle and a little butterfly from the Brilliant Wings dies. I die cut my Easter greeting so that the lettering would be more to the right, so I've got room to pop this butterfly on. Attach it with a glue dot. And pop one of these gilded gems on. And another one here. I'll do that to the circle. And then glue that onto the box. Last finishing touch, punch out 2 daisies and 2 medium daisies. Curl the petals on these. Glue this daisy together, so stagger them so that's in between the petals of the one below. Do the same with this. So stagger the large daisy so that the petals are in between to give it a fuller flower, and then pop that on top. Put dimensionals on the bottom, pop that on top of the box, and use one of the large gilded gems for the flower centre. Voila! So that's my hexagonal stepper box. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. Find all the supplies below this video in the show more section. You can also find me on Facebook, Pinterest or Instagram. The measurements for all the cardstock and papers you need are on my blog, so I'll give you a link to that so you don't have to write it all down. Thanks for watching. Bye.